The emergency alarm cut through the peaceful afternoon at the Galactic Defense Academy like a knife. Red lights flashed in every corridor, painting the white walls in waves of crimson. Cadet Tyler Brooks dropped his data pad, the device clattering to the floor as he looked up in shock. "All personnel, this is Instructor Calvan speaking." The voice over the intercom was tight with barely controlled fear. "We have a code black situation. Void Stalker containment has been breached in Research Wing 7. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. All cadets and staff proceed to emergency evacuation pods immediately." Tyler felt his heart stop. They had just studied Void Stalkers yesterday in xenobiology class. These things were legends. Nightmares. The kind of creatures that entire civilizations ran away from because fighting them was impossible. Around him, alien cadets from dozens of different species burst into panicked motion. A tall Zenthari student rushed past, nearly knocking Tyler over. 3 Deltari cadets ran together, their gills flapping in distress. Everyone was heading toward the evacuation bay on the station's far side. Tyler started to follow them, then stopped. Through the transparent walls of the corridor, he could see into the research wing. What he saw made his blood turn cold. The Void Stalker was massive, easily 12 feet tall and covered in black armored plating that looked like it had been carved from obsidian. It moved on 6 legs, each ending in sharp points that punched holes in the metal floor with every step. Its head was mostly jaw, filled with rows of crystalline teeth that glowed with a faint blue light. But the worst part was the shield. A shimmering field of energy surrounded the creature's entire body, pulsing and rippling like water. As Tyler watched, a security team opened fire with plasma rifles. The bright blue bolt struck the shield and simply vanished. The energy field flickered for a moment, seemed to study the attack, then solidified again. When the security team fired a second volley, the shield didn't even ripple. It had already adapted. The plasma was useless now. One of the security officers tried to run. The Void Stalker moved faster than something that size should be able to move. A blade-like limb shot out and the officer went down. Tyler looked away, feeling sick. "It really is unkillable," he whispered to himself. Just yesterday, Instructor Calvan had explained it to the class. The Torvathi instructor, who looked like a giant crystal mantis, had shown them recordings of Void Stalker attacks throughout galactic history. "These creatures," Calvan had said in his clicking, translator-assisted voice, "represent the single greatest threat to intelligent life in our galaxy. Their bioshields can analyze and adapt to any energy-based weapon within seconds. Plasma, lasers, particle beams, quantum disruptors, even experimental weapons we have only tested in laboratories. All useless." A student had asked the obvious question. "Then how do we kill them?" Calvan's crystal face had somehow managed to look sad. "We do not. When a Void Stalker appears, we evacuate. 12 species have lost their homeworlds to these creatures. Thousands of research teams have died trying to find a weakness. The answer is always the same. Nothing can kill them. You can only run and hope they leave." Tyler had raised his hand then. "But sir, when you say nothing can kill them, do you mean nothing we have tried? Or nothing that is theoretically possible? Because those are different things." Several alien students had made sounds that the translator interpreted as laughter. Calvan had looked annoyed. "I mean, Cadet Brooks, that in 3,000 years of galactic civilization across 47 member species, no weapon has ever succeeded in harming a Void Stalker. Your human optimism is noted, but it will get you killed. There are some problems that cannot be solved." Now, standing in the flashing red emergency lights, Tyler understood what Calvan meant. The creature was tearing through another blast door, metal screeching as those blade limbs carved through reinforced steel like butter. More weapons fired. Sonic disruptors this time. The shield absorbed them just as easily. Tyler started running toward the evacuation pods with everyone else. Then he passed a side corridor and saw something that made him stop. The museum wing. The Academy kept a collection of primitive weapons from all member species. Relics from before energy weapons became standard. Most of it was junk, ceremonial pieces that civilizations kept for historical purposes only. But Tyler knew there was one item in that collection from Earth. His feet carried him toward the museum before his brain fully processed the decision. Behind him, he heard Calvan's voice on the intercom again. "All cadets must evacuate now. The creature is moving toward the main hub. You have less than 5 minutes." Tyler ran faster. He burst through the museum doors and sprinted up the stairs to the second floor. There, in a climate-controlled display case, was what he needed. An M4 carbine. A kinetic rifle from Earth, over 200 years old but restored to perfect working condition. It had been brought to the Academy as part of humanity's cultural contribution when Earth joined the galactic community. Most species had looked at it with polite confusion. Why would you display such primitive technology? The weapon used chemical explosives to propel small metal projectiles. No energy signature. No plasma. No quantum effects. Just physics. Mass times acceleration equals force. Tyler grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and smashed the display case. Glass rained down as he reached in and pulled out the rifle. His hands found the magazine release, checked the chamber, confirmed it was loaded. 30 rounds. The museum had kept it functional, thank God. His comm badge crackled to life. Brooks? It was Kelvan's voice, sharp with panic. Where are you? The evacuation pods are the other direction. I know, sir, Tyler said, his voice surprisingly steady as he chambered a round. I need to try something. Try what? There is no time. That creature will reach the evacuation bay in 3 minutes. If you are not on a pod, you will die. I know, sir. Tyler started moving toward the central atrium, the rifle held ready. But if I can slow it down, maybe everyone else will have time. Slow it down with what? Kelvan's voice rose in pitch. What weapon could you possibly have that 3,000 years of galactic military science does not? Tyler did not answer. He could hear the Void Stalker now. The scraping of its blade limbs on metal. A wet, rattling breathing that sounded like someone drowning. The creature was close. He reached the central atrium, a wide open space with a view of 3 different corridors. Through one of them he could see the Void Stalker approaching. Its shield was blazing bright now, gorged on absorbed energy from all the failed weapons that had fired at it. Tyler raised the rifle to his shoulder. The red dot sight painted a spot on the creature's center mass. His finger found the trigger. 3,000 years of failure said this would not work. Every advanced species in the galaxy had abandoned kinetic weapons as primitive and ineffective. But the Void Stalker's shield was designed to absorb and adapt to energy. It had evolved that way probably over millions of years. Had it ever faced a weapon that was just metal and momentum? A weapon with no energy signature to detect and analyze? Only one way to find out. Tyler took a breath, let it out slowly and squeezed the trigger. Tyler's fingers squeezed the trigger. The rifle kicked against his shoulder with a sharp crack that echoed through the atrium. The sound was different from energy weapons. Louder. More violent. More real. The bullet left the barrel at over 2,000 feet per second. Just a small piece of lead and copper, nothing fancy. No plasma containment field. No quantum entanglement. No molecular disruption. Just metal moving very, very fast. The Void Stalker's shield rippled as the bullet approached. The shimmering energy field tried to analyze the incoming threat, searching for an energy signature to lock onto and absorb. But there was nothing to detect. The bullet had no energy field. It was just matter in motion, following the simple laws of physics that had existed since the universe began. The shield flickered, confused. Then the bullet passed straight through it like it was not even there. The round struck the Void Stalker in the center of its chest, punching through the armored plating with a wet crack. Black ichor sprayed from the wound, splattering across the floor. The creature stopped moving. For 3 full seconds, it just stood there as if it could not understand what had just happened. Tyler could not understand it either. His hands were shaking so badly he nearly dropped the rifle. It worked. It actually worked. From somewhere above him, he heard Kelvan's voice over the comm, barely a whisper. Impossible. The Void Stalker made a sound Tyler would remember for the rest of his life. It was a shriek, high-pitched and full of rage, but underneath that was something else. Something that might have been confusion. Maybe even fear. The creature had existed for millions of years. It had evolved to be the perfect predator. Its shield could adapt to any energy weapon in seconds. Civilizations had thrown everything at it. Plasma cannons that could melt through starship hulls. Quantum disruptors that could tear apart molecules. Exotic weapons that bent the laws of physics. All useless. But nobody had shot it with a simple bullet in thousands of years. Why would they? Kinetic weapons were primitive. Every advanced species had moved past them centuries ago. The Void Stalker charged. Tyler fired again. And again. And again. Each shot punched through the useless shield and struck armored flesh. The creature's black blood sprayed with each impact, leaving a trail across the white floor. Tyler aimed for the joints where the armor plates met, where Kelvan had mentioned in class that the tissue was softer. The rifle bucked in his hands with each shot. Spent shell casings clattered to the floor around his feet, bouncing and rolling across the metal. The smell of gunpowder filled the air, sharp and acrid. Tyler's ears were ringing from the noise, but he kept firing. The Void Stalker crashed into a support pillar, black ichor running down its armored hide from half a dozen wounds. It was hurt. Actually hurt. For the first time in its entire existence, this apex predator was bleeding and in pain. Tyler's rifle clicked empty. He dropped the magazine and slammed in a fresh one, muscle memory from his basic training on Earth taking over. 29 rounds left. He had brought 2 spare magazines from the display case. That was all the ammunition in the entire academy. After that he was done. The creature circled him now, more cautious. Its shield still flickered and pulsed, still trying to adapt to the kinetic rounds. But there was nothing to adapt to. The bullets had no energy signature. They were just chunks of metal following Newton's laws. The shield might as well have been trying to develop immunity to gravity. Brooks? Kelvan's voice came through the comm again, steadier now. I am watching from the observation deck. The entire command staff is here. We cannot leave you alone down there. You need to finish the evacuation, sir, Tyler said, keeping his eyes on the Void Stalker. The creature was moving sideways now, looking for an opening. Get everyone off the station. The evacuation is complete. All cadets are away. But we are not leaving without you. Kelvan paused. What you are doing should not be possible. In 3,000 years, no one has ever wounded one of these creatures. Maybe everyone was trying too hard, sir? Tyler tracked the Void Stalker with his rifle sights. Maybe the solution was too simple for anyone to consider. The creature lunged. Tyler threw himself sideways, rolling behind a bench as a blade limb smashed into the floor where he had been standing. The metal buckled under the impact. Tyler came up firing, putting 3 rounds into the creature's side. It shrieked again and backed away. Tyler's heart was hammering so hard he thought it might burst. His tactical vest was soaked with sweat. Every instinct screamed at him to run, to get on an evacuation pod and get away from this monster. But he could not. If he ran now, the creature would follow. It would hunt down the evacuation pods, tear them open, kill everyone inside. No. This ended here. Sir, Tyler said, moving to keep distance between himself and the Void Stalker. In your lectures you mentioned the neural cluster. The brain structure at the base of the skull. Yes. Kelvan's voice was tense. We identified it through scans, but we could never damage it. The skull armor is too thick, and the shield protected it from surgical strikes. Can you send me the exact location? I have 16 rounds left. I need to make them count. There was a pause. Then Kelvan said quietly, sending coordinates to your heads-up display now. Brooks, the armor plating around the neural cluster is reinforced. It evolved specifically to protect the brain. Even if your kinetic rounds can bypass the shield, I do not know if they can penetrate that armor. Only one way to find out, sir. Tyler's display flickered as targeting data appeared, overlaying his vision. A small red dot marked the neural cluster location at the base of the creature's skull. It was a tiny target, maybe 2 inches across, protected by overlapping plates of organic armor. The Void Stalker circled closer. It was learning. Even wounded and confused, it was still a predator. It feinted left, then came at Tyler from the right. Tyler barely dodged, feeling the wind from a blade limb as it missed his head by inches. He fired twice while dodging, not really aiming. One shot went wide. The other caught the creature in the shoulder joint. It stumbled but kept coming. 14 rounds left. Tyler needed better positioning. He needed high ground and distance. Most of all, he needed the creature slowed down. At full speed he would never make the shot. Sir, Tyler said, running toward the training arena on the far side of the atrium. Can you access the arena's gravity controls from there? Yes, but why would you? Kelvan stopped. Oh, that is brilliant. Can you do it? Yes. Get to the arena. I will be ready. Tyler ran. The Void Stalker followed, its blade limbs striking sparks from the metal floor. Black blood dripped from its wounds, leaving a trail. It was hurt badly now, but still dangerous. Maybe more dangerous because it was wounded and angry. Tyler burst through the arena doors. The training space was huge, designed for combat exercises between different species. Multi-level platforms. Adjustable gravity. Obstacle courses. Perfect. Tyler climbed the nearest ladder to a high platform, then turned to face the entrance. The Void Stalker crashed through the door seconds later, its shield blazing with rage. Now, sir. The gravity in the arena suddenly tripled. Tyler felt the weight slam into him, driving him to one knee. His rifle felt like it weighed 50 pounds. His chest compressed under the pressure, making it hard to breathe. But the Void Stalker had it worse. The massive creature, already wounded, staggered under the crushing gravity. Its 6 legs buckled. It fought to stay upright, blade limbs scraping against the floor for support. Tyler raised his rifle. 14 rounds. One target. The neural cluster at the base of the skull. He aimed carefully and began to fire. Tyler's first shot struck the thick armor plating at the base of the Voidstalker's skull. The bullet ricocheted off with a metallic ping, leaving only a small dent. The armor was too thick. Tyler had expected this. He fired again. Same spot. Another dent, slightly deeper. The creature was struggling under triple gravity, moving in slow motion like it was trapped in thick mud. Its 6 legs shook with effort just to keep its massive body upright. Third shot. The armor plate cracked. Black lines spread across the glossy surface like a spider web. It is working, Kelvan's voice came through the comm, filled with an emotion Tyler had never heard from the instructor before. Oh. The kinetic impacts are accumulating damage. The armor cannot repair itself fast enough. Tyler fired a 4th shot. A 5th. The armor plate shattered, pieces falling away to reveal softer tissue underneath. The creature shrieked, a sound that made Tyler's teeth hurt. It tried to move toward him but could barely lift its legs under the crushing gravity. Neural cluster is exposed, Kelvan said. 2 inches down, slightly to the left of center. Tyler took a deep breath. His arms ached from holding the rifle steady under triple gravity. Sweat ran into his eyes. The red targeting dot wavered on his display as his muscles trembled with fatigue. He had 9 rounds left. He needed to make them perfect. He squeezed the trigger slowly, controlled just like they taught him in basic training. The rifle kicked. The bullet struck home. The Voidstalker spasmed. Its shield flickered wildly, pulsing with chaotic energy. Black ichor poured from the wound at the base of its skull. The creature's legs gave out and it crashed to the arena floor with a sound like thunder. But it was not dead. Not yet. The creature's massive body twitched. One blade limb scraped against the floor, trying to find purchase. Its crystalline teeth ground together, making a horrible scraping sound. Tyler could see the neural cluster now through the hole in the armor, a pulsing mass of purple tissue shot through with glowing veins. He fired again. Direct hit. The neural tissue ruptured, spraying dark fluid across the floor. The creature's movements became jerky, uncontrolled. Its shield flickered and died completely, the energy field collapsing like a popped bubble. 7 rounds left. Tyler climbed down from the platform, moving carefully under the heavy gravity. Each step felt like he was carrying another person on his back. He approached the fallen Voidstalker slowly, rifle raised, ready to fire if it moved. The creature's breathing was labored now, wet and rattling. Its blade limbs twitched but could not coordinate enough to attack. One of its multiple eyes tracked Tyler as he moved closer. For a moment, Tyler thought he saw something in that eye. Not just animal rage but awareness. Intelligence. The realization that after millions of years as the galaxy's apex predator, it was dying. Finish it, Kelvan said quietly over the comm. Do not let it suffer. Tyler raised the rifle and fired twice more into the exposed neural cluster. The creature's body went rigid, then collapsed completely. The wet breathing stopped. The eye went dark and empty. Silence filled the training arena. Tyler stood there, rifle still raised, waiting for any sign of movement. His hands were shaking so badly now that the barrel wavered in the air. His legs felt like they might give out at any moment. It is dead. Kelvan's voice was barely above a whisper. Tyler Brooks, Cadet First Class, you have just killed a Voidstalker. The first person in recorded galactic history to do so. Tyler lowered the rifle. He wanted to feel triumphant. Proud. Something. But all he felt was tired and sick. He had just killed something that might have been the last of its species. A creature that had existed for millions of years. Yes, it was a monster that had destroyed entire civilizations. But still. Reduce gravity to normal, please, sir, Tyler said. His voice sounded strange to his own ears. The crushing weight lifted. Tyler's knees buckled and he sat down hard on the arena floor, the rifle clattering beside him. He just sat there, staring at the massive corpse in front of him. The arena doors burst open. Kelvan rushed in, moving faster than Tyler had ever seen the crystal mantis move. Behind him came 3 other instructors and a security team, all staring at the dead Voidstalker with expressions of shock. Impossible, one of the instructors kept saying. Impossible, impossible, impossible. Kelvan approached Tyler and extended a crystalline limb to help him up. Tyler took it and stood on shaky legs. The instructor's multiple eyes studied him with an intensity that was almost uncomfortable. How did you know? Kelvan asked. How did you know the kinetic weapon would work? Tyler shrugged. I did not know, sir. Not really. It was just a guess. You said the shield could adapt to any energy weapon. But kinetic weapons do not use energy fields. They use physics. Mass times velocity. I thought maybe the shield could not detect something that had no energy signature to analyze. 3,000 years, another instructor said, a floating jellyfish-like being named Pelcor. 3,000 years we have studied these creatures. We tried everything. Everything except the one thing we abandoned when we became civilized. Kelvan made a clicking sound that the translator interpreted as bitter laughter. We became so advanced that we forgot the simple solutions. We built quantum disruptors and molecular destabilizers, weapons that bend reality itself. But a simple bullet, following the laws of motion that have existed since the universe began, that we never tried. A security officer was scanning the Void Stalker's body with instruments. Sir, the biological shield is completely offline. I am reading massive neural damage throughout the central nervous system. Cause of death appears to be catastrophic brain trauma from kinetic impact. Kinetic impact, Pelcor repeated. The most primitive form of violence in the universe. And it killed the unkillable. Tyler picked up his rifle and checked it. 5 rounds left in the magazine. 2 more full magazines in his pocket. 60 rounds total had been in the museum display. He had used 55 of them. 55 bullets to kill a monster that had survived everything galactic civilization could throw at it for 3 millennia. What happens now? Tyler asked. Kelvan looked at the dead Void Stalker, then at Tyler, then at the primitive Earth weapon in the young human's hands. Now we rewrite every military doctrine in the galactic database. Now we question every assumption we have made about advanced warfare. Now we realize that humanity's refusal to completely abandon kinetic weapons was not primitive stubbornness. It was wisdom. Sir, I just made a lucky guess. No. Kelvan's voice was firm. You saw a problem that everyone else said was unsolvable. You thought differently. You used what you had available instead of what you wished you had. That is not luck. That is tactical brilliance. Alarms began blaring again, different ones this time. The security chief checked his display. Galactic Defense Command is requesting immediate contact. They detected the Void Stalker's biosignature going offline. They want to know what happened. Kelvan looked at Tyler. What happened is that a first-year cadet from a species we considered primitive just solved a problem that has plagued the galaxy for thousands of years. What happened is that we learned a very important lesson about the dangers of arrogance. Tyler looked down at the rifle in his hands. It was just a simple tool, really. No advanced technology. No exotic physics. Just metal and chemistry working together to throw a small projectile very fast. The same technology humans had been using for over 1,000 years. Sometimes the old ways worked best. The observation deck of the Galactic Defense Academy was crowded with beings from a dozen different species, all staring at the same thing. On the main viewing screen, magnified 50 times, was the corpse of the Void Stalker lying on the training arena floor. Black ichor pooled around it. The shimmering bioshield that had made it invincible was gone, collapsed into nothing. Admiral Thexcor of Galactic Defense Command stood at the center of the room, her 4 arms crossed over her chest. She was a Karathi, a species known for their military expertise and their deep distrust of anything that seemed too good to be true. Play it again, she commanded. For the 5th time the security recording played on the screen. Tyler Brooks, a human cadet in his first year, holding a primitive kinetic rifle. The Void Stalker charging at him, its shield blazing with absorbed energy from failed weapons. Tyler firing. The bullet passing through the shield like it was not even there. The creature's black blood spraying. The shriek of confusion and pain. The recording continued. Tyler firing again and again, each simple bullet punching through defenses that had stopped every advanced weapon ever created. The creature falling under triple gravity. The final shots that killed it. When the recording ended, Thexcor turned to Kelvan. Instructor, I need you to explain something to me. We have 47 member species in the galactic community. Thousands of military research facilities. Billions of soldiers. Trillions of credits spent on weapons development. And you are telling me that none of us, in 3,000 years, thought to shoot it with a bullet. Kelvan's crystalline face somehow managed to look embarrassed. Admiral, we did not think kinetic weapons were relevant. Every species abandons them when they develop energy weapons. They are inefficient. Limited ammunition. Require physical projectiles. We saw them as primitive. Primitive? Thexcor repeated. She walked to the window and looked down at the training arena where medical teams were now examining the Void Stalker's body. That primitive weapon just did what our most advanced technology could not. One of her aides, a young Deltari officer, spoke up nervously. "Admiral, we are receiving reports from the Xenobiology Division. They have completed preliminary scans of the creature's bioshield. The shield operates by detecting incoming energy signatures, analyzing their structure, and creating a counterfield that absorbs or deflects them. And kinetic weapons have no energy signature," Thexcor finished. "The shield could not detect the bullets because there was nothing to detect. Just matter in motion." "Exactly, Admiral." The aide pulled up data on a side screen. "The shield evolved over millions of years to counter energy weapons. But kinetic weapons were so rare in the modern galaxy that the evolutionary pressure to defend against them disappeared. The Void Stalkers encountered energy weapons thousands of times for every one kinetic weapon. Natural selection optimized their defenses accordingly." Thexcor was quiet for a long moment. Then she said, "So we created our own problem. By universally adopting energy weapons as the standard, we gave these creatures an evolutionary niche to exploit. They became immune to everything because everything was the same type of threat." "It appears so, Admiral. And it took a species that joined the galactic community less than 5 years ago, a species we all looked down on for keeping their old weapons, to show us our blind spot." Thexcor made a sound that might have been a laugh or a growl. "The universe has a sense of humor." Down in the medical bay, Tyler sat on an examination table while a Torvathi doctor checked him over. The doctor's scanner hummed as it passed over Tyler's body, checking for injuries. "Elevated heart rate, high adrenaline levels, minor muscle strain from operating under triple gravity," the doctor reported. "Otherwise you are healthy. Remarkably so, considering you just fought an extinction-level entity in single combat." "I did not really fight it," Tyler said quietly. "I just shot it. The gravity did most of the work." "Do not diminish what you accomplished." The doctor retracted her scanner. "You are cleared for duty, though I recommend rest. Your body has been through significant stress." Tyler nodded and slid off the examination table. His legs still felt shaky. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw the Void Stalker falling, heard its final wet breath. He knew he would see it in his dreams for a long time. The door to the medical bay opened. Admiral Thexcor entered, her forearms clasped behind her back in a formal military posture. Tyler immediately stood at attention. "At ease, Cadet Brooks." The Admiral studied him with her large, dark eyes. "I have just finished watching the security recordings of your encounter. I have also read Instructor Kelvan's preliminary report. I need to ask you some questions." "Yes, Admiral." "When you grabbed that rifle from the museum, did you know it would work? Did you have evidence or research that suggested kinetic weapons could bypass the bioshield?" Tyler hesitated. "No, Admiral. I just guessed. Everyone kept saying the shield adapted to energy weapons. I thought maybe it could not adapt to something that was not energy-based. But I did not know. I was just desperate." "A desperate guess," Thexcor said. "A guess that no one else made in 3,000 years." She began pacing, her footsteps heavy on the metal floor. "Do you know what this means for galactic military doctrine?" "I think so, Admiral. It means energy weapons are not always the answer. It means much more than that." Thexcor stopped pacing and faced him directly. "It means we have been fighting with one hand tied behind our backs. It means every species that abandoned kinetic weapons did so prematurely. It means we need to completely rethink our approach to warfare and defense." She pulled up a holographic display showing star charts and military deployments. "There are 17 confirmed Void Stalker sightings in the galaxy right now. 17 worlds under threat of extinction. Before today, our only option was evacuation. Now, for the first time in history, we can fight back." Tyler felt the weight of her words settle on his shoulders. "You want to hunt them. I want to save those 17 worlds. I want to stop running from these creatures like frightened children." Thexcor expanded the display, showing weapon schematics. "But we need your help. Humanity still manufactures kinetic weapons, correct? Your species never fully transitioned to energy-based systems." "That is correct, Admiral. We use both. Plasma rifles for most military operations, but we kept manufacturing conventional firearms. For cost reasons mostly and tradition. Some people just prefer them." "How many kinetic weapons does Earth currently have in active service?" Tyler thought about it. "I do not know the exact number, Admiral. But it would be in the billions. Almost every human over the age of 16 has completed basic firearms training. It is part of our culture. When we joined the galactic community, some species thought it was barbaric that we still taught our children to use guns." Thexcor's expression was unreadable. Those species were wrong. What they saw as barbarism may be the key to survival. How quickly could Earth produce military-grade kinetic weapons for galactic distribution? I would need to contact Earth Defense Command for exact numbers, but our manufacturing is already scaled for billions of units. We could probably increase production significantly if needed. The Admiral nodded slowly. I am authorizing immediate contact with Earth's government. We need to negotiate a production contract. Within 6 months, I want every military unit in the galaxy equipped with kinetic weapons as a standard secondary armament. She pulled up another display, this one showing Tyler's Academy file. As for you, Cadet Brooks, you are hereby promoted to Cadet Sergeant and assigned to the Galactic Defense Command Tactics Division. Your first assignment is to help develop training protocols for kinetic weapons deployment against Void Stalkers. Tyler's eyes widened. Admiral, I am just a first-year cadet. I do not have the experience for. You have more experience fighting Void Stalkers than anyone alive, Thexcor interrupted. You are the only being in the galaxy who has killed one. That makes you the expert whether you feel ready or not. She deactivated the displays and placed one of her 4 hands on Tyler's shoulder. 3,000 years we struggled with this problem. 3,000 years of failure and death and running away. You changed that in 5 minutes with a weapon we all considered obsolete. Do you understand the significance of that? Tyler looked down at his hands. They had stopped shaking finally. I think so, Admiral. Sometimes the answer is not to be more advanced. Sometimes you need to go back to basics. Exactly. Thexcor removed her hand. Evolution does not always move forward. Sometimes the old traits, the ones we thought we had outgrown, turn out to be exactly what we need to survive. 6 months had passed since Tyler Brooks killed the Void Stalker. The galaxy had changed in ways no one could have predicted. The Galactic Defense Academy's main auditorium was packed with over 2,000 beings from 47 different species. Every seat was filled. Cadets stood along the walls. Instructors crowded the back. Even Admiral Thexcor had come, standing in the VIP section with her 4 arms crossed, watching the stage intently. On that stage stood Tyler Brooks, no longer just a cadet. He wore the dark blue uniform of a Galactic Defense Instructor, with silver bars on his collar indicating his new rank. On his chest was a medal that gleamed under the lights, a star made of pure Valorium, the rarest metal in the galaxy. The Galactic Defense Star of Valor. Only 37 beings in history had ever received it. Tyler was the 38th, and the youngest by almost 100 years. Thank you all for coming, Tyler said into the microphone. His voice was steady now, confident in a way it had not been 6 months ago. Today marks the official launch of the new training program, Primitive Weapons Applications in Modern Combat. This course is now mandatory for all military personnel across the galactic community. He gestured to the display behind him, which showed schematics of various kinetic weapons. Rifles, pistols, shotguns, even bows and crossbows. Weapons that most species had not used in thousands of years. 6 months ago these weapons were considered obsolete. Relics of a less civilized time. Today they are saving lives across the galaxy. Tyler pulled up a star map showing 17 planets, each marked with a green indicator. These are the worlds that were under Void Stalker threat. All 17 creatures have now been eliminated using kinetic weapons. 0 casualties among civilian populations. 0 worlds abandoned. The auditorium erupted in applause. Tyler waited for it to die down before continuing. The success rate has been remarkable, but we cannot become overconfident. Void Stalkers are not the only threat in the galaxy. We are now studying other entities that have been considered unkillable. The quantum wraiths, the stellar leeches, the crystalline swarms. We are testing whether kinetic weapons are effective against them as well. A Zenthari officer in the front row raised a tentacle. Instructor Brooks, early reports suggest kinetic weapons are indeed effective against quantum wraiths. Can you confirm? Tyler nodded. Confirmed. A strike team eliminated 2 quantum wraiths last week using armor-piercing rounds. The wraiths phase through energy weapons by shifting into quantum states, but they cannot phase through solid matter traveling at high velocity. The bullets disrupt their quantum coherence. More applause. Tyler felt a strange mix of pride and discomfort. He was being celebrated for figuring out how to kill things. It felt wrong somehow, even though those things had killed billions. After the presentation, Tyler made his way through the crowd. Everyone wanted to shake his hand or touch him with a tentacle or antenna or whatever their species used for greeting. He smiled and thanked them all, but inside he just wanted to be alone. Finally, he escaped to the Academy's observation deck. It was quiet here, just him and the stars visible through the transparent dome. He stood there, looking out at the galaxy, thinking about everything that had changed. The door opened behind him. Tyler turned to see Instructor Kelvan enter, the Torvathi's crystalline body reflecting the starlight. "I thought I might find you here," Kelvan said. "You disappeared quickly after your presentation." "Sorry, sir. I just needed some air." Kelvan approached and stood beside him, also looking out at the stars. "You do not like the attention." "No, sir. I just did what anyone would have done." "That is not true, and you know it." Kelvan's multiple eyes turned to look at Tyler. "No one else did it. No one else even thought of it. You saw a solution that 3,000 years of civilization missed." Tyler was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Can I ask you something, sir? Why did we all forget? How did every advanced species in the galaxy abandon kinetic weapons at the same time?" Kelvan made a clicking sound, thinking. It was not simultaneous, but the pattern was the same across all species. When energy weapons were developed, they seemed superior in every way. Unlimited ammunition through power cells. No recoil. Precise targeting. Lighter to carry. Cleaner. More civilized. "More civilized," Tyler repeated. "That word keeps coming up." "Yes. There is a psychological component we did not consider. When a species becomes advanced enough to create energy weapons, they want to distance themselves from their primitive past. Kinetic weapons remind them of when they were violent and brutal. Energy weapons feel refined. Sophisticated. They represent progress." Kelvan gestured out at the stars. "Every species goes through this phase. They develop energy weapons and gradually phase out kinetic ones. Within a few generations, kinetic weapons exist only in museums. The knowledge of how to manufacture them is preserved, but the practice dies out. It becomes something that only backward species do." "But Earth never fully made that transition," Tyler said. "No. Humanity is unique in that way. You developed plasma weapons 200 years ago, but you kept manufacturing conventional firearms alongside them." "Why?" Tyler shrugged. "Lots of reasons. Cost mostly. Energy weapons are expensive. A plasma rifle costs about 10 times more than a good conventional rifle. Not every military unit could afford to fully transition. And culturally, many humans have an emotional attachment to firearms. They are part of our history. An emotional attachment that the rest of the galaxy saw as primitive stubbornness." "Yes, sir." Kelvan turned to face Tyler fully. "We were wrong. Humanity's refusal to completely abandon the old ways was not stubbornness. It was wisdom. You kept your options open. You did not put all your faith in one technology." The door opened again. Admiral Thexcor entered, her 4 arms carrying a data pad. "Ah, here you both are. I have been looking for you." "Admiral," Tyler and Kelvan said together, straightening to attention. "At ease." Thexcor approached and handed the data pad to Tyler. "These are production numbers from Earth. I thought you would want to see them." Tyler looked at the display and his eyes widened. 4 billion units? In 6 months? "Earth's manufacturing capacity is impressive," Thexcor said. "They have exceeded every projection. We now have enough kinetic weapons to equip every military vessel in the galaxy with a full armory. And Earth has agreed to continue production for the next 5 years." She pulled up additional data. "But the numbers that interest me more are these. 47 member species have now requested training in kinetic weapons manufacturing. They want to rebuild their own production capabilities. Within 10 years, the galaxy will have the industrial base to produce both energy and kinetic weapons at scale. All because a first-year cadet grabbed a rifle from a museum," Kelvan said quietly. Thexcor nodded. "One action. One moment of thinking differently. It has changed the course of galactic history." She looked at Tyler. "The High Council wants to meet with you next week. They want to discuss Earth's role in galactic defense going forward." "What role would that be, Admiral?" "The Council is proposing that Earth become the center of kinetic weapons research and development for the entire galaxy. You would train instructors, develop new ammunition types, test applications against different threats. Earth would essentially become the galactic armory for conventional weapons." Tyler thought about that. Earth, the newest and most primitive member of the galactic community, becoming central to its defense. A year ago, such an idea would have been laughable. "There is one other thing," Thexcor said. "The Council wants to know Earth's total kinetic weapons capacity. Not just what you can manufacture but what you already have. How many weapons currently exist on Earth?" Tyler smiled. He had been asked this question before. "About 4 billion people on Earth, Admiral. Each one has completed basic firearms training. Most own at least one personal weapon. Some own dozens. Our total stockpile, including civilian weapons, is probably around 6 billion units. And that is just Earth. Our colonies have another 2 billion between them. Thexcor's eyes widened. 8 billion kinetic weapons. Already in existence. We never stopped making them, Admiral. Even when we developed plasma weapons, we kept the old factories running. It seemed wasteful to shut them down. Wasteful, Kelvan repeated. The galaxy thought humanity was wasteful for keeping primitive technology. Now that waste is our salvation. Tyler looked out at the stars again. Somewhere out there, strike teams were hunting void stalkers with weapons that his ancestors had been using for over 1,000 years. On 17 worlds, people were alive because of technology that everyone had considered obsolete. I have been thinking about my first lecture, Kelvan said suddenly. The one where I told you nothing could kill a void stalker. I was wrong, but not in the way I thought. Sir? Tyler asked. I said no weapon could stop it. That was technically true. No weapon we had tried could stop it. But I should have been more specific. I should have said no energy weapon could stop it. Kelvan's crystalline face somehow managed to look thoughtful. Language matters. Precision matters. My imprecise statement led to imprecise thinking. Everyone assumed I meant all weapons when I really meant only one type. So the lesson is to be more specific? Tyler asked. The lesson, Kelvan said slowly, is that when someone says impossible, you should ask them to define their terms. Impossible under what conditions? With what tools? Under what assumptions? True impossibility is rare. Most things we call impossible are just things we have not figured out yet. Admiral Thexcor smiled, an expression that looked strange on her alien features. I am going to use that in my next address to the High Council. They need to hear it. She turned to leave, then paused at the door. Tyler, you changed the galaxy. Not with advanced technology or brilliant strategy, but by refusing to accept what everyone else believed was true. That is worth more than any medal. After she left, Tyler and Kelvan stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Finally Tyler said, Sir, what happens now? We solved the Void Stalker problem. What is next? Kelvan made a sound that might have been laughter. Next? Next we find all the other problems we thought were impossible and solve those too. And we remember that sometimes the answer is not to be more advanced. Sometimes we need to look backward to move forward. Evolution running in reverse, Tyler said. Exactly. Evolution is not a straight line. Sometimes the old traits, the ones we discarded, turn out to be exactly what we need. Kelvan placed a crystalline limb on Tyler's shoulder. Thank you for teaching us that lesson. The galaxy is safer because you refuse to think like everyone else. Tyler looked down at the Galactic Defense Star of Valor on his chest. He thought about the simple rifle that had started all of this. A primitive weapon. Obsolete technology. The thing that saved the galaxy. Sometimes he realized the old ways really were the best ways.